Hey study buddies, it's me, Scarlet, aka your YouTube big sister, feeling the 90s vibes today because we're talking about one of my favorite topics. It kind of makes me think about sleepovers, magazines, and looking up your horoscopes. We're talking about whether or not astrology is real. Now, this episode of Scarlet Studies was requested specifically by a lot of you. I talked a little bit about zodiac signs in my What Does Space Smell Like video, which you can watch right here, because we mentioned a deep space dust cloud called Sagittarius B2. Immediately, a bunch of you were asking me to do a Scarlet Studies episode all about zodiac signs and astrology. But I wanted to wait a little bit because proving or disproving astrology is really difficult. And I wanted to really do my research for this one. In order to do that, I had to consult a few different sources, one of whom you will see later in this video. Let's get to it, star babies. Okay, we will start with a quick little breakdown of astrology. The dictionary defines astrology as the study of the movement and positions of the sun, moon, planets, and stars in the belief that they affect the character and lives of people. And within astrology, there are 12 zodiac signs. Everybody can be categorized into one of these 12 signs based on their birth date. Each one of those signs corresponds to a planet, one of the elements, colors, and personality traits. Let's see if I can name all 12 of them in one take. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. Yeah! A quick note, astrology is not astronomy. Astronomers, if you remember from that What Does Space Smell Like episode, study deep space, stars for their chemical makeup, and how viable they might be for life forms, that sort of thing. Astrology is more of a belief and a study of the behavior of people and how that connects to things that happen in space. And it's not considered an exact science, even though astrology has been around for thousands of years. 34% of Americans believe astrology to be at least kind of scientific. Horoscopes, or astrological predictions about what's going to happen to you, get more and more popular. So, all of this begs the question, is astrology actually real? Most scientists do not believe that astrology is real. Any potential evidence that exists, they say, is just simply not strong enough. Actually, in 2003, a former astrologer, now scientist, Jeffrey Dean, led the biggest scientific investigation into astrology ever recorded. He took 2,000 people who didn't know each other, but were born within minutes of one another and studied them for over 100 different personality traits. Their creativity, their IQ, what sort of jobs they've ended up doing over the years. And according to astrology, because they were born so close together in terms of time, they should have had a lot of things in common. Well, there were really no patterns of similarities between those 2,000 people at all. He felt he had completely debunked astrology. However, a few other scientists still think there might be something there. There are two main theories in favor of your birthday affecting who you turn out to be. So the first one involves the seasons. Psychologists all over the world for decades have noticed personality traits are linked to what time of year people were born. One study found that people born from December through February have lower agreeableness. A Swedish study found that women, specifically, born from February through April, have increased novelty-seeking behavior. And there are a lot of other trends like these that are very well established. So why? How could that be? Well, the first thing that researchers did once they noticed this was look at the southern hemisphere, because the seasons flip between the northern and southern hemispheres. The personality traits were reversed there, which led them to believe that these personality traits are connected to the weather, not the position of the stars or the planets, since those remain the same no matter where in the world you live, but because of the many other things that vary with the seasons: sunlight, activity level. And according to this first theory, the precise moment of your life when you experience these seasonal changes affects your personality for years and years to come. Kind of makes sense, right? A lot of other reports support this theory, actually. One of them claims that summer babies consider themselves more lucky. Getting to have my birthday party outside in the sunshine every year with like sprinklers and pools and all of the best things about summer, that would probably make me feel pretty lucky too. The other theory about why your birth date might affect your personality has to do with magnetic fields. Percy Seymour, a former Plymouth University astronomer, argues that the movement of the sun, moon, planets, and stars interferes with Earth's magnetic field, which means that babies all over the world are exposed to varying levels of magnetic pull depending on exactly when they're born. This theory is not quite as supported with data like the seasonal one. Most scientists feel that the Earth's magnetic pull, generated by its molten iron core, is actually pretty weak compared to the magnetic fields in our phones or our computers, things we use every single day. Crazy, right? So this is actually a really good time to talk to you about correlation versus causation. These two scientific terms are really helpful. Take my summer birthday theory, for example. People born in summertime consider themselves more lucky. That's a correlation. That's a pattern. But we do not have any data to determine the causation or cause of that. My theory that having a birthday party in summertime might make me feel lucky too is just a wild guess on my part. One thing that keeps scientists from 100% fully proving or disproving astrology is the fact that we can't really control any experiments about it. We can't just move the planets by hand. Scientist Jacqueline Mitten of the Royal Astronomical Society says the difficulty for scientists is we know that sometimes the strangest sounding ideas turn out to be true. After learning about all of this, I decided to do a little bit of research of my own. If you watched my Q&A, you know that my birthday is April 23rd, which makes me a Taurus. Some people say Taurus, I say Taurus. Get over it. Sorry, that was a little aggressive. According to astrology, Tauruses are stubborn, down-to-earth, patient, but also materialistic and hungry, like all the time. So without telling any of my friends what I was doing, I created a quiz to ask them 10 questions about my personality. I asked questions like, do you think Scarlet would rather win an argument or avoid an argument? Or would Scarlet rather make plans or be spontaneous? Secretly, one of these answers to each of the questions was the stereotypically Taurus answer. And the results were mixed, but for the most part, they did not match me with the Taurus personality traits. 54% of the answers suggested that I am not a Taurus, whereas 46% of the answers suggested that I am. So it was really close. This particular experiment would also disprove astrology. But this wasn't a perfectly controlled experiment either. As any professional astrologer, like my mom, would tell you, your birth date really only determines your sun sign. You also have a moon sign, a rising sign, and a whole chart full of other signs determined by the exact time and place of your birth. So I decided to chat with my friend Anne, who loves astrology, to see what she had to say about all of this. So Anne, you really enjoy astrology. You tend to know a lot about it. What do you get the most out of what you've learned about astrology?
It helps me as a person learn more about myself, I think, and it helps me work through problems. I think it's really important to know yourself and to be able to communicate with yourself. I don't know, just being happy. It's important that you're happy. And if you know yourself, I think you have an easier time being happy. It's so hard to see the big picture. Like, when you're just living in your body and you're doing your thing. So like sometimes astrology and personality tests and all that kind of stuff helps you see the big picture as a whole.
Do you think you're an Aries? Does it match who you feel yourself to be?
I think so. Like I tend to be very aggressive about certain things. And I mean like defending my friends or, going for what I want. And I'm always seeking to be the center of attention, which I think ultimately is why I'm an actor. I don't know, have you ever, I brought some reading materials. Have you ever seen this?
No.
The Secret Language of Birthdays. Basically, it talks about every single day of the year. And like that, if we're talking that, I would say yes. Like everything in this on my page of April 3rd is like a perfect prediction.
Whoa, that's crazy. That's 365 options. And yours is right.
And mine is right. Yeah. And like
That's
most people that come over and be like, it's just fun. Like you open it up and you're like, well, what's mine say? And it's usually pretty spot on.
Crystals, cards, astrology. Which of these modes of thinking are the most inspiring and helpful to you?
Astrology, like everyone kind of knows their astrology sign and knows a little bit about like what that means. And so it's just a fun way to connect with other people, and whether you're being serious about it or just having fun or like not interested, it's always a conversation starter. And I think astrology, because it does kind of help us navigate the world and have fun with it.
That's a great answer. Thank you for joining my episode.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me. This was so fun. I love talking about this stuff.
The answer to whether or not astrology is actually real is we don't know. We really don't. But at the end of the day, just because something can't be proved with science doesn't make it silly. Science is really, really important, especially when it comes to keeping yourself safe and doing what's right for your community, like wearing a mask. But the things that we believe and the way that each of us interprets the mysterious, crazy world that we live in is important. And anything like astrology that brings us joy and inspiration adds to our lives. Without that stuff, none of the real scientific things would even happen in the first place. Thank you so much for watching, Study Buddies. And thank you for suggesting this amazing video topic. It's definitely one of my favorites so far. So what do you want me to study next? What do you need my help researching? Let me know in the comments, as always, and make sure to join my official Study Buddy Club. The way that you join is by subscribing to my channel and turning on those bell notifications. And I'll see you next time. Bye.